Hello, listeners. Welcome to the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon podcast. Today, we have a special guest with us, and he is my first guest, not my first guest who knows Wing Chun, but my first Wing Chun instructor on the podcast, all the way from Bangkok. So let me do a quick introduction before I bring him up. So today, we have Nicolas Clement with us, originally from France, but now in my favorite city in Asia, Bangkok. Right. So just a quick introduction. He has over 30 years of experience in negotiation, in sales, and also in real estate. And he is the founder and general manager of Nego Asia, right? So Nego Asia's mission is to elevate the level of success of individuals and organizations through consulting, coaching, and training in negotiation. So we have a negotiation expert with us, and he is also the head of negotiation practice and also founder of Halifax Consulting. Nicolas, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bob. I'm not exactly the founder of Halifax, but it's true that I am the head of the negotiation practice, and I am the chief growth officer for Asia Pacific. But
awesome,
I am not the founder.
Thank you for clarifying that. Thank you for clarifying that. And first question I would like to ask all of my guests. So first time here that I'm having a Wing Chun instructor here. So what is your favorite Kung Fu movie, Nicolas?
Well, that's a very tough question. The first that comes to mind, of course, is Enter the Dragon by Robert Klaus with Bruce Lee, John Saxon, Anna Capri, Shik Ken, etc. And, you know, Bruce Lee was the driving force behind my starting, or I should say continuing, martial arts as a teenager and now as a grown-up. I love Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon because I find that this movie, while respecting the codes of this kind of movie, reinvented them at the time with artistic views and the spiritual dimension, which I liked a lot. So that would be my two favorites.
Awesome. Yeah. So Bruce Lee is, of course, the person who brought Kung Fu to the West. And if you're watching this on video on YouTube, or if you're watching this on video, there is a wooden dummy behind Nicolas. All right. So he specifically brought this on for the podcast, and he is actually a Wing Chun. So actually, before we get into negotiation, I just want to ask you about Wing Chun instructing. So you have an academy. What do you do when it comes to Wing Chun?
Okay, so long story short, I almost died in a car crash when I was 5 years old, and my parents took me to judo when I was able to walk again. So I was about 6 years old, and I did 6 years of judo in some kind of lazy way. And then I discovered the Kyokushin karate, which is a very strong school of karate in Japan. And I did 20 years of that. I also did 6 years of Taiji. I did 6 years of Aikido. I'm second dan in traditional Aikido. And then in 2016, I had somehow stopped practicing martial arts because I had some physical issues. And I, again, almost died in hospital because of some miscalculation of the surgeons or whatever. And so I did 1 year of traditional Taiji, and then I went back to Wing Chun, which I had been practicing during 2 years in France. And I practiced until August of last year with Sifu Kleber Battaglia, who was during 15 years an assistant of a very famous Hong Kong Sifu who worked with Bruce Lee as well. And Sifu Kleber was kind enough to grant me an instructor level 1 certificate in August last year. So I have not built a school yet because, you know, that's my passion, but that's not my professional work, but it's still on the back burner. And it will happen at some point in time.
Awesome, Nicolas. You are a true martial artist. So let me get this right. So let me summarize just now. So from what I hear, you're a master in Tai Chi. That's one, right? So you have many years of practice of Tai Chi. All right, let's not use the word master. Right?
Let's say that I'm an enthusiast, that I'm passionate. I would never call myself a master.
Okay,
Never, ever.
That is in the spirit of martial
I'm
arts.
passionate.
Passionate about Tai Chi, and you second dan means a black belt in Aikido. Am I right?
That's correct, given by an eighth dan of traditional Aikido in France.
Second dan is second level of black belt for those listening, and then of course now you have instructor level for Wing Chun. Wow, you are the most. I didn't expect this to the listeners when I invited Nicolas to the podcast. I did not know, because we are connected on LinkedIn. I didn't know his background in martial arts. It's so extensive, and it's very apt for you to be on this podcast.
But I can give you the secret to martial arts mastery, and it's the same basically as the secret to negotiation mastery.
Yeah, sure.
Is showing up on time and ready to act.
Showing up on time and ready to act.
So if you show up at your martial arts school every day or twice a week or 3 times a week, and you never give up, you'll get there. And it's the same with negotiation. You don't have to be gifted. You just have to practice under the guidance of a negotiation expert that you appreciate. There is not one school of negotiation, one ring to bind them all. It takes every kind of people and every kind of negotiation approach to make a business work. Of course, some approaches are more equal than others.
Awesome. Yeah, so the reason why I invited Nicolas onto this podcast, because if you go onto YouTube and you search for Nicolas Clement, you'll find a very good TEDx speech, very good 15 minutes or more TEDx speech that he did a year ago at TEDx Fuxing Park. So that is for those listening. If you want to listen to the full TEDx speech, please do check it out on YouTube. And this interview will be prefacing that. So I'll ask questions around negotiation from there. And thank you for that introduction to negotiation from martial arts, showing up and learning from an expert. So before I get into it, negotiation, this word has been used in many ways. Like it's been used, I've seen podcasts on negotiation for better salary, negotiation for sales, and negotiation as well. And I think everything is negotiation, like even getting your children to go out, or getting your better half to do something is a negotiation. But what is negotiation to you, Nicolas?
All right. So you're absolutely right saying that there are all kinds of definitions of negotiation. And actually, when I do negotiation trainings, I always ask to my learners, what is your definition of negotiation? And what you realize is that no two people have the same definition. People say win-win, people say compromise, people say getting the upper hand, people say such horrible things that letting the other person have it your way, etc., etc. So I have one definition of negotiation, which I apply for myself and for my students, is the definition of negotiation that my mentor, Jim Camp, discovered in the Oxford English Dictionary on one of his trips to Hong Kong 30 or 40 years ago. And this definition is the following: negotiation is a mutual effort between two or more parties to reach an agreement, with both parties having the right to say no.
Okay. I'll get into that as well. Having the right to say no. Yes. That is very, very good, because in a question I'll get to later, it's also about this. And you said one of the things you said just now that very intrigued me was that you said that you need to show up on time. This is a challenge for most people nowadays with all that is happening. So how do you actually, so it depends. So let's talk about maybe negotiation for business in general. So a lot of my audience are on LinkedIn and they are professionals or business people. So besides showing up on time, how do you prepare for a negotiation?
Okay, that's a good question. First of all, there is the meaning of words. Showing up on time starts in your head. So if you need 1 month to prepare, showing up on time means not preparing in the car, going to the appointment, or not preparing in your office 30 minutes before the Teams or Zoom meeting. It means show up on time for your preparation 3 months before the event. That's the meaning of showing up on time. There was a famous American football trainer called Vince Lombardi, and there was normal time and Lombardi time. And for Vince Lombardi, if you were on time, you were actually late. Okay, so I don't know if it answers the first part of your question about preparation. First question to ask is, what do I need to prepare? Who are they? What do they want? Why do they want it? What kind of pain did they acknowledge? What are we speaking together? Is it really a negotiation? Things like that. And I must have a clear picture answering these kind of questions of the long-term value that I can bring to the table. This is super important because always thinking in terms of what you bring to the other party over the long term, instead of focusing on your best alternative, your lowest cost, etc., which is a way of thinking which is destroyer of value. Thinking of the long-term value that you bring is always going to enable you to have the best outcomes. And it brings me to the fact that you only prepare what you can control. You can never control an outcome. So what can you prepare? What can you control? You can control your assessment of the issues. You cannot control your emotions. You can control what you do with your emotions. You can also phrase what you want in terms that also invite the other person to say no to what you have to propose, because a real no is always better than a fake yes. And no gives you information that will enable you to tighten what you bring to make it more focused. And then I always prepare what happens next.
Awesome, that is great. So doing the homework, I noticed that you said focusing on the long-term gain for the other party, right? So
that's correct.
Focusing on bringing value, and also be open to the possibilities of saying no. Better no rather than maybe.
Be open to the possibilities of saying no, and more importantly, of hearing no.
Yes.
Of hearing no, yes.
Yes.
So people fear no. People believe that no is the end of the negotiation, when in fact no is the beginning of the negotiation. So as long as you accumulate yeses, you have nothing to work on. How many times have you negotiated with people who always say yes to whatever you say, and in the end, sorry, it's not in the budget. Sorry, I'm not the decision maker. Sorry, I have changed my mind, blah, blah, blah. And in the meantime, with all these yeses, you have given a lot of valuable information and you don't know where this information is going. So saying no, inviting no, there are signs of respect. And if we talk about intercultural negotiation, in every culture, people want respect. If you try to manipulate the other, or if you don't offer them the right to say no, or if you don't say no to the unacceptable, you are being disrespectful to the other party because you don't think they are capable of saying no or of hearing no. And in so doing, you set up a mechanism which is detrimental to joint value creation, to co-construction of deals that last.
Yes, that is very profound. It is like what you said in martial arts. I like the word respect, right? So treat the other person not like just a project or not just a sale, right? So offer them opportunities, and it's like uncovering the objections, right? So coming to the no's is better than, getting yes all the way and getting a no at the end. But I like the word respect there. It's like martial arts. In martial arts, we have sparring. so
but there is a big difference still between negotiation and martial arts, and it's difficult to get around that one because martial arts, yeah, there is a spiritual dimension, but there is also the aspect of, I think it's the Grandmaster by this Hong Kong movie director. I don't remember his name, but it starts with horizontal, vertical. You want to judge the value of a martial art at the end of a fight. One person will be vertical, one person will be horizontal. It is not the case in negotiation. It is not the case in negotiation. So negotiation is not sparring or fighting. Even though sparring or fighting, even in real circumstances, and have been attacked on the street or in the underground when I was a teenager 4 or 5 times. And the parallel that you can make is management of fear. Management of fear. Because in negotiation, a lot of people fear to lose the deal. You fear to lose the deal, but the other party also fears to lose the deal. So that would be a parallel. But in terms of the outcome, the only outcome that would be a perfect match would be diffuse aggression and turn it into a communication proposal to sort out the mess that is not working, to find a new situation that is working. But why is not so important? Because negotiation is not mediation. In negotiation, you are looking for something that you don't have in your ecosystem, and that's why you negotiate. But you negotiate to maximize the value to you, not to find something which is balanced, even though in the end, the deal might be balanced, but it will be balanced for only one reason, is that the other party or the other parties have the responsibility to make a deal which works for them long-term. Therefore, they have the duty to say no to what doesn't work for them. You don't have that duty. They have that duty. And because they have that duty, and because negotiation is still a human performance event, as a negotiator, you have to make it easier for them to say no to what you propose. The easier, the more entitled they are to say no. If you tell them it's perfectly okay to say no, here is what I have, tell me what works, tell me what doesn't, let's see what we can do. It creates the environment which is conducing to more value co-creation.
Yes, I like that word, value co-creation. So I gather it's unlike martial arts. You're not looking to defeat someone in negotiation, right?
That's correct.
You are looking for co-creation of value.
That's correct. If I like the value at the end of the day.
Yes. So moving that relates to my next question, which is like you also mentioned this in your TEDx talk, where you're not looking to defeat, because there are a lot of negotiation books out there. Oh, I know I'm going to negotiate, and then eventually I got this very good price, right? You're not looking to defeat the other person,
Of course not.
but to create value together. So what are mostly the common misconceptions or mistakes when it comes to negotiation?
Well, the biggest mistake is that no is bad. That's the wrongest mistake in negotiation. Second biggest mistake is that compromise is required. As I said in my TED talk, compromise is like a negotiation credit card. You haven't paid the price up front in terms of time, energy, money, emotion, all this effort that you needed to make a value-creating deal. Therefore, you compromise to still have a deal, and you will pay for the consequences afterward. This is very dangerous, all the more as it is invisible. So deals are visible, whether they are bad deals or good deals is only left for the people who will implement the deal. So in my system, you take today the responsibility of reaching agreements which your people will be able to implement to their highest and best ability to the long-term benefit of the other party. So no is bad is the first misconception. Compromise is required is the second misconception. The third very dangerous misconception is full transparency, because unless you are negotiating with extremely altruistic people who don't have to answer to their stakeholders, if I see what you gain from the deal and you see exactly what I gain from the deal, at one point in time, maybe it's not you, maybe it's not me, but someone on my side or someone on your side said, these guys are making too much. And in the end, I try to draw a horizontal plane here. You will deal in the middle, so you will have destroyed value on both sides, instead of asking yourself, what do I want? And build something and make a three-dimensional deal, which is much more value creating for both parties. So transparency is a very big danger in negotiation. I wouldn't say it's a 100% dangerous concept, because you have to be somehow transparent on the value that you bring, but getting the nitty-gritty of the value to you is dangerous, and it's not good either for the other party.
That is very profound. And one of the things I wanted to ask you from that, so it is not good to be transparent. One of the things
you said, it's not always good to be transparent, or it is not good to make transparency the be-all and all of negotiation.
Yeah.
And even though negotiation is not a game where there is a winner and a loser, right? I like this idea of a chessboard, but you only see 3/4 of the chessboard. So you see 3/4 of what's really happening, but there will still be a mystery about 1/4. And that's good for everyone. In long-term relationships, you have to leave a part of mystery to the other person. Believe me.
That's good. That's good. And something you said just now, you said compromise. So is discount a form of compromise?
It depends.
Depends. Okay.
It
Okay.
really depends. Actually, discount is a form of insurance.
Insurance. All right. So
It's
let
an
me.
insurance. It's an insurance against no deal.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So because in my point of view, so let me ask you a selfish question. So doing business in Asia, it is very common after I show them, hey, this is the price, this is the services. It's not so common when I deal with companies in the West, but in Asia, is this your best price? Can you give a discount? They always ask. It's like maybe something like tradition. So when they ask for
because they are using the not so well-known formula, wow equals x divided by 2.
Sorry, wow.
Wow equals x divided by 2.
What does that mean?
Okay, tell me a price for anything. My watch.
Okay.
You are trying to sell me a watch. Give me a price.
Okay. So I have a watch here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say I sell this for $250. All right.
$250?
Yeah.
Wow. I never thought it would be so expensive. Okay. Okay, I give it to you for 125. Wow equals x divided by 2.
125. Sorry, give it to me for what?
For half of the price. So of course it's a formula, it's a concept, it's a gimmick, but all purchasers are trained. Whatever the price we put to say, wow, I never thought that would be so expensive.
Oh no, I learned something today. So I will just say that next time. Oh, okay. That is very cool. So like when it comes to, let's say, so this is more a selfish question. Like there's a good point on the wow part.
Selfishness doesn't work that bad.
Yeah. So like my question would be, so doing business around the region, they always ask for a discount, right? So like maybe my service, let's say I say my service is $1,000, for example, and they ask for a discount. And for me, when they ask for a discount, I am actually quite happy, because when they ask for a discount, it shows there's a next step, right? There's a next step. That means they are showing interest in the deal. I mean, if it's
really?
It's my point of view. It's my point of view.
Really?
Yeah. But anyway, when they ask for a discount, it's very likely in my experience that it will go to the next step, right? Very likely. But what would you respond when someone asks for a discount?
Well, actually, you're asking me for a tactic, and in my system, we don't really employ tactics. We employ principles. So the principle that I would have in mind is that since your podcast is called Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon,
yeah,
tigers don't eat salad.
Okay.
That's the principle that I would have in mind. So if you give away free concessions, concession after concession after concession to someone just because they ask, actually you are feeding steaks to a tiger in the hope that the tiger will become vegetarian. But I can guarantee you, my friend, tigers don't eat salad.
And is there a point where you say, you use the word concession, right? So compromise. So is there, I know it's principles, but how do you know this is enough compromise to give and this is not too much compromise to give?
Well, first of all, the only way I use the term compromise is to say that it is not required in negotiation. So that would be my answer, but that would be also a non-answer. What's a great deal to you? What's a great deal to you? At which point do you believe that you are going to be adequately compensated for all the value that you bring? And it's really important, because in the School of Rational Negotiation, which I know very well because I had 97% in negotiation at Stanford University program called Strategic Decision-Making and Risk Management. The rational school of negotiation says, as long as you make $1 above your best alternative plus your cost of negotiation, you should take the deal. I contend that if you think like that, you will be fired because you are not paid to deal at your best alternative plus cost of negotiation. You must be adequately compensated for the value you bring, and only you can know. So sometimes people ask me how to know the real decision maker in a negotiation. I say it's easy. The real decision maker in a negotiation is you, because you have the right to decide at any point in time whether you take the deal or whether you don't take the deal. So it's good to prepare your numbers, but be careful that the win-win deal you create so much is not a losing deal in disguise, because you are not compensated for the value you give on terms that are acceptable to you. So you have to decide what these terms are in advance. And if it's a complex negotiation with stakeholders, you have to negotiate that with your stakeholders.
Yes, yes. So that is, you are the decision maker. So you will decide. And maybe the next question I would ask you is, you said both parties need to have the ability to say no. All right. So in principle, I'm sure it's very vague here. We don't have a example here, but when do you know when to say no and retreat from the negotiation?
Well, there is no general rule. This has to be negotiated when you are preparing. So if you are preparing with your constituents, you have to negotiate at which point to say no, and then you forget it, because you cannot forget, you cannot concentrate at the same time on at which point you will say no, BATNA plus cost of negotiation, and concentrate at the same time on how can I build maximum value and get adequate compensation? How do I do that? What are the questions that I must ask? What are the problems that I must uncover? What are the agreements that I must reach to build that, let's say, meta deal that will make both of us with more value over the long term? You cannot focus on your small world and the big world of the other party with you in it under terms that are acceptable to you at the same time. So yes, you have to prepare at which point is it not a good deal, and then you focus on building a great deal, a deal where you build the maximum value to the other party under conditions which you can accept.
Thank you so much, Nicolas. And yeah, that is also a very good wisdom that you've shared there. And before we go, last few questions is, one is, do you have any negotiation stories you would like to share? Any interesting ones? You don't have to name names, but if you have any stories you'd like to share.
I have so many. One of my first clients, it's intermediate size company, like $200 million company, and they had this problem that their client didn't want to pay them, and their client was like 10 or 20 times bigger than they were. And basically they just said, sorry, we cannot pay you. and my client had delivered the product, industrial machines, the trainings, very sophisticated. So it seemed that they had no means of getting paid. And in the preparation for the call with the client, I spent hours on the supplier chart of their biggest client. And after 4 hours of reading a very, very fine print, I discovered that if they did not pay the subcontractors, they would be blacklisted. But you cannot threaten a client, say, I will call your biggest clients. So actually what we did is we gave this client, the client of my client, the opportunity to make it right. And in exchange of making it right, my client would write a letter to their biggest client saying that they were a real pleasure to deal with. And actually, what happened is that it's exactly like in Aikido. If you stop the aggression, you don't get hurt. But if you increase the aggression, you get hurt really bad. And actually, when my client asked his client, what good would it make to you if we could write a nice letter saying that you are a super partner, that you always pay on time, and you are a pleasure to deal with? Actually, they reacted in the way that, oh, you are going to tell them we don't pay? Okay, we pay. So we had prepared, I don't know, 6 or 7 questions, and on the first one, they say, okay, we pay.
Yeah, it is. I think most people would go for the threat, right? Which is, like you say, in Aikido, the wrong thing to use aggression.
But the problem with the threat is that you become the bad guy and they become entitled not to give you what you want.
Yeah.
So, like I said, you are always thinking in terms of what value can you bring them. Here, the value we could bring them is increase of their reputation in their largest account.
Yes. And indirectly, it brings up that small clause, that small fine print there. So that is a great story. Thank you so much for sharing, Nicolas. And thank you again for being on here. So for the listeners, do really check out Nicolas's TEDx talk, and do connect with him on LinkedIn. So it is Nicolas Clement on LinkedIn, and it's based in Bangkok as well. And yeah, thank you so much. And this is a podcast, like I mentioned earlier, Nicolas, to share stories of business leaders in Asia. I'm an avid podcast listener, so when I love, every day I watch YouTube, I listen to podcasts, I learn a lot. But when I talk about leaders in Asia, there's almost nothing that can learn. Like people like you should be on podcasts, should be having more videos on YouTube.
Thank you so much. That's really nice.
Yeah, like people in the West, they just need to know a little bit, and then they have many YouTube videos. So, but yes, so like if you have, right, so just a question, like, do you have anyone else that you would recommend? So I love talking to business leaders in Asia, and so happy to talk to you in Bangkok. Do you have in mind any business leaders that I should talk to as well?
Let me think about it and get back to you.
Sure, I would love to hear from it soon as well. And Nicolas, before we go, anything else, last words you would like to say to the audience?
Well, thank you very much for listening until the end. And I really hope to bring you value with what I say and the concept that I teach. What you can and must know is that I believe in them, I practice them, and they work.
Yes, spoken like a true martial artist. Believe, practice, and then it really works. Thank you so much, Nicolas.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.